Hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, we're going to talk about the Survival Life Vest. So for me, I prefer to put together my own life vest. I bought this probably 15 years ago, and I put different things in it depending on the time of year, the area in which I'm traveling, and what I think I might need. But of course, a lot of the items are going to be the same. I just wanted to share with you today what I think should be in a good survival life vest. Again, this is for solo canoeing, kayaking. This is in case I would fall out of the kayak or the canoe and lose everything, all of my gear that I have packed. So then you would be stuck with just what you have on your body. And so with that in mind, I'm going to take this off, put it on the ground, and I'll go through each of the pockets. Just pockets in the front. There are no pockets in the back, obviously, so it would be very uncomfortable if you were trying to row or paddle against a seat with a lot of gear packed against you. But anyway, all of the things I carry right here in the front, let's get to that right now. The first item that I want to show you is, of course, a required device. This is a signal whistle, and of course this is to warn other boats that you're there. It's also great if you would get lost, or again, if you'd lose your boat and you need to signal for help. Obviously a signaling device is very useful. We keep that handy, and it is attached down here with this D-ring. In the next pocket, we simply have a bag of paracord, and it's also with a little bit of bank line, and you can't have too much cord in an emergency situation. And I like to keep all of my items, as you can see, in Ziploc bags. And the reason for that is that even though many of these items would not get damaged if they were wet, yet this provides an extra layer of protection. It's always good to have Ziploc bags, and the point being that it does keep my things dry so that I don't have to deal with getting wet plus all of my gear being damp at the same time. Next, in this very large zipper pouch here on the side, at the top I carry a large Swiss Army knife. Many of you are familiar with this, of course. Its two most important features are its very large blade and saw, and of course it has the can opener, bottle opener, and on the back side a Phillips screwdriver and an awl, which is great for sewing and making repairs and things. And many of you are familiar with the Swiss Army knife. It does have the locking main blade, and so I really like this feature about this knife. And this is big enough for me to do quite a few tasks, building shelter and getting firewood, again in the event that I would capsize and make it to shore with just the vest. The next item that I have in here is a really nice and fairly complete fishing kit. This is just a small Plano box. You can get this at Walmart or many of your outdoor fishing retailers. So what I carry on this side is I carry some stainless steel leaders, and of course this is for making trot lines and various things. I also carry a small bag of Riverside supercharged with odor, and it's got some kind of a smell on it, just a yellow plastic worm with a wiggly tail. And I know that you can find bait under logs and rocks and various things, but it's so much easier if you already have a little bit of bait with you, and it can just minimize the amount of time that you spend trying to hunt for something to fish with. So I've already got it with me. The next thing I have over here is a rubber band to hold some things together. If I need to, I have a very small fishing lure with a treble hook attached. I also have a large amount of lead sinkers, and then in this bag I have an assortment of different kinds of fishing hooks. Turning it over, there's a double-sided box. Over here I have these nice large sinker bobber combination of two of those. I have a nice hank of 14-pound test fishing line, about 50 feet there roughly. I have a stringer. That's in case I catch the fish and want to keep them for a while and keep them fresh. And then also a pair of clippers. And these clippers are not only good for clipping line and trimming your nails and such, but also has a small knife and a fingernail cleaner, or some kind of a gouge if you wish to use it for that. Plus at the end here it has a hook remover, and so that's a handy little feature also, and I carry that in with this kit at all times. And it all fits very nicely in this little box. The next thing I have in this large pocket is I have a pack of cards here, edible and poisonous plants of the eastern states. And this is a really handy item to have. Now this doesn't have, these aren't playing cards. What they are colored cards of the different wild and edible plants that I might encounter as I'm bushcrafting, surviving, trying to make it into the woods. I consider this to be a very valuable resource, and on the back it also has many of the things that you can use. It even has notes and warnings about some of the poisonous things that you don't want to eat, and such as water hemlock, but then of course also the regular instructions as to what you can eat if you wish. So it tells you what they look like on the front, description on the back, full color pictures, and that's very important. So many of your survival resources, they don't have things in color, and line drawings are not adequate if you're going to trust your life to it and try to eat something. And of course there are rules that govern whether or not you want to eat something out of the wild, and we can get into that perhaps on a later video. The next item I carry in this bag is a flattened roll of duct tape. It's just Gorilla Tape, and there's probably about 15 feet here, and it's just wrapped around a plastic card. And if you have an old shopping gift card that you don't use anymore, instead of throwing it away, it makes a really great base to wrap your duct tape around to store for later. In this top pouch I have a small tube of SPF 30 waterproof, sweat proof, that's very important, sunscreen, and of course when you're out on the water you definitely don't want to get burned, and another hank of paracord. And I'm of the belief that you can never have too much line, because you never know when you might have to build something. In the other side, on the left side as it were of this pouch, I have a lighter that I have done a significant amount of modifications to, and it has a small knife on the back with a ranger band. It has a loop of fire cord on the bottom which to carry it. It has a small flashlight feature, and then also the lighter of course, and it has this special little Ziploc tie that you can put around here, which helps prevent this from being depressed. And you can see kind of how that works, along with a little bit of extra Gorilla Tape just in case. That's kind of like a one-tool option for starting fires and cutting things. So almost a mini survival kit all by itself. In this pocket here I have a wrapped up Mylar, just a Mylar sheet and a space blanket, you know it's called, and it's really small, it's compact. I took it out of the original package, put it in a Ziploc, and again this is for additional cover. I can build a shelter, but a lot of times it's difficult to make an adequate shelter without some kind of a membrane, so this is going to be good for that. In the other large pocket I carry my information. This is a waterproof floating capsule, bright orange, and inside I have my boat registration and my fishing license. And I would always recommend, if you're fishing public waterways, to be very careful, make sure and keep things legal, and you always want to pay attention to your local laws. I also have a waterproof Princeton Tech, this is one of the older versions, Aurora, and it has 3 settings, high, medium, low, and then a flashing feature and kind of a strobe, and that's a really nice thing to have. And of course hands-free light is always a welcome addition. Also I carry in this pocket, I carry a small first aid kit with just you know, some very simple things that I might need, which we can go into that at some later date, but that's just a small first aid kit with band-aids and aspirin and things like that. And then I have a Ride in the Rain waterproof paper, just a small notebook, along with a fine point Sharpie pen, so I can make notes and if I would need to leave notes for my rescues, whatever, but it is all waterproof. And last, I have in this pocket a little bit more paracord, which of course, you know, I consider cordage to be one of the very most important things you can have. Not just paracord itself, it's actually a small Scout fire striker, and a little tiny ferro rod here, and one of these firesteel.com fire steels. Throws off a really great amount of sparks, and so that does go along with my lighter, of course, as a more reliable fire starter. A little bit of paper towel to clean and wipe things off, and if I catch a fish, if I need to clean my hands. And then of course I also like to carry some wire and nails, and out of this you could use and make a frog gig or a fish gig or something like that if necessary. And then the last item that I carry in my vest is just a small spray bottle of Deep Woods Off Sportsman Insect Repellent. And of course I prefer not to use this unless I just have to, but this is really great for if you're on the side of the creek or somewhere on a river, and you know mosquitoes and things like that are going to be bad. It's always just wonderful to have some good, high quality, some kind of an insect repellent. Obviously when you're around water, you're going to have insects. So that's my survival vest. Now you probably noticed that I don't have anything with which to filter water or boil it. But unfortunately, in almost every area of the world that I've been in, and around the areas where I would canoe or kayak or boat, along the shorelines, you can always find cans and bottles and various things that have floated. Unfortunately, we have a world that we live in where a lot of people have distributed a lot of trash. Some of it's not on purpose because you have floods that come through and take out things and wash a lot of debris downstream. But if I've got the ability to make shelter, start a fire, cut firewood, and find something that I can boil water in, I'm probably going to be okay. And in our part of the eastern woodlands here in southern Ohio, we have the ability to find a lot of access to creeks and streams and side ponds. We don't always have to use the main river sources, into which we can usually find water that you can make clean enough to drink simply by filtering it through a t-shirt or a shirt or a sock or something like that, and then simply boiling it. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. Please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure and press that bell button to stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.